Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are a regular here, hit the like button. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. So yeah guys, we're back again with another video, and this one might be again slightly different. I'm actually going to go over a clip in which I feature. I want to give a huge shout out to Chiso, who had me down over on his channel. I'm going to put a link in the description. If I don't, please remind me. But he has a really good channel in which you come round and work out. I barely do any working now, and everyone points it out to me. Thank you for pointing it out. But these guys really bang weights. I make sure to do mine off camera, just in case I fail on one of the reps. But apart from the working out, there's also a bit of a conversation, which is always good and healthy and respectful. So I love it. And I love the fact that we have different dynamics. We can bring something different to the discussion. So I always love being there. This is my second time on the channel. But one of the limitations of it is the fact that it is a conversation, which I think provides a strength because it means we can give different perspectives, but it also means that the ability to which you can go into depth on some of the issues is kind of limited because you have to take consideration for other people's points of view and also the general flow of the conversation. So there's one thing I wanted to expand upon a little bit, and it's this idea of rights and responsibilities. You'll see what I mean by that when we get into it. But I just wanted to expand a bit more on that idea and that concept, think a little bit more out loud on it, and hopefully it might be of use to somebody. So let's get into it real quick.
Women have been emancipated, it's great, but I still think that as much as we try to shift away from gender roles, which I feel should be obsolete to an extent, I say as men, and we're talking about what it's to be a man, as men, are we ready for this shift where, for instance, you might have to be in the house and cook and clean because your woman's, part of the 1% earning 130 grand, and it just makes more sense for you to be at home.
Yeah.
As men, do you think we're ready for that shift? And can you still, for the definition of what a man is,
Yeah.
am I still a man?
Do you know there are some men who are ready for that shift, right? And I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing about it. What you just to quickly jump in there before I'm jumping in on myself. It's pretty ridiculous, but when I say there are some men who are ready for that shift, I mean, I think there are some men who don't really mind. They're happy for their wives to earn significantly more, and they say they're happy to stay in the house. They are there. But what I think you'll find is women don't tend to want those men. That's what I tend to find anyway. I happen to know a few sisters who are doing pretty well for themselves, and what they're asking for is something I want to touch on very soon in the video. Keep watching, guys. You often find is, as women have made these strides, all we've done is focus on one half of the equation, which is their rights, but we haven't shifted their responsibilities. So with every single right comes a responsibility.
You're preaching, brother.
And there are a lot of women who have pushed for the right to earn, but do not accept the responsibility of providing. I am always impressed by myself. I'm joking, man. Guys, I really, the day that this dawned to me, the balancing equation or the balancing act of rights and responsibilities, a lot of things fell into place in terms of my thinking, and so I'm gonna go deeper into that, but I want to address it back in the situation first, right? So what do they say? They say I want to earn, but I also want a man who meets me here or earns more, because hypergamy is built into them. There we go. All right. So, like I was saying, I have quite a few female friends who say they want a guy, and one of their prerequisites is that he kind of needs to be on my level. And what they mean by that is financially, right? Financially, they want him to be on her level or higher. So it's perfectly okay, and it's still expected of a man to bring more resources to a woman who has less than him than it is for a woman to bring more resources to a man who has less than her. And the idea of that is essentially, it's rooted in originally the idea that you want a guy who can provide for you. But whilst women are earning, they don't want to be providers. They want to earn in a way that increases their ability for lifestyle, their ability to make choices and to be able to leave and exit the relationship if they feel necessary. They want to be able to earn so that they can have more disposable income. They want to be able to earn so that they can use that as a level set to say, now I deserve a man who earns even more. Right? So that women are constantly looking at the game and going, how can I make this work for me? All right, give me the right to earn. All right, cool. So there's more money in your pocket. Okay, so are you now willing to accept the responsibility that when money goes into your pocket, you might need to look after somebody who doesn't have money, or somebody who does have money, and basically it's your turn or it's your responsibility? And there are some women who go, yeah, sure, no problem. But a lot of women say no, especially those who've worked hard to get a lot. They specifically gone through the stress of building themselves up to do it. And that's why I often say, as a bit of a joke, that I think sisters should go through a 1 year internship of where they pick a fully grown adult who has money, and they spend a year paying for stuff for that person, taking that person out to dinner, buying that person clothes, buying stuff for that person. Somebody who has their own money. That needs to be key. Not like a kid or whatever it is, because I think some women are definitely a bit more amenable to that, because they go, well, a kid is a kid, they're helpful as they need it. But somebody who has their own money, go through that for a year, just as a mindset builder to understand what you are asking of the men that you want to come and pursue you and date you. It's For a woman, you have to understand that her perception of what it is to spend money is very much based on what she has experienced. But she's experienced now some of the same rights as a man, but she's never experienced some of the same responsibilities as a man. And that's where it's difficult. It's one thing to take yourself to a fancy restaurant, to go Hakkasan with your girls and you split the bill, or take yourself out on a self date and you spend £100 on a meal. It's another thing to take someone else and now not only spend £100 on your meal, but spend £100 on somebody else who has their own money but doesn't want to spend it. That's a tough thing to do mentally. And this goes back to the original point that I was making, which is about the balancing act of rights and responsibilities. As you are taking on rights, if you're not thinking about the responsibilities that come with them, then I'm sorry, but you are essentially setting yourself up for a lifetime of misery, and of being a liability to those around you. Somebody who increasingly demands more and more rights but takes on very little responsibility is a child. Children are the ones that do that. And we often give them a pass because they're not very mature. When a child says, well, I want to be able to stay up, or I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to make my own rules, I want to basically eat what I want and stay up as long as I want, or whatever else it is, right? Most of the time, when parents say, whilst you're under my roof, you follow my rules, at the root of that statement is the understanding that I'm responsible for you. It's not just a matter of I provide for you. Because yes, there is an element to which I pay the bills. But what that means is I am responsible for you. So whilst I'm responsible for you, I have the right to make decisions for you. And it's only children that specifically try to live their lives in a way in which they avoid the responsibility but want all the rights. And unfortunately, a lot of women have been given an advanced or extended adolescent stage in which they're able to live out this lifestyle in which somebody else gives them, somebody takes on their responsibilities but gives them all the rights. Men have an extended adolescence as well, don't get me wrong. There's an extended adolescence in which men don't want to take on responsibility and also want rights. So they want to be able to have sex, but they don't want to have to take on the rights of a family or a wife. Or they want to be able to play games and live in their mother's basement, or whatever it might be, right? There's an extended adolescence for men. But the extended adolescence for women is often not really addressed because it's clouded on the idea of women's rights. You will hear a lot of discussion about women's rights, but very few discussions about women's responsibilities. Because women's responsibilities is a direct threat to the lifestyle and the immaturity that undergirds the idea of some of these rights. You remember, like, okay, so if women's rights starts off as we want the right to not be beaten in our homes by our spouses to the point of ending our lives, I think we'd all go, do you know what? That sounds like a human right to me. You're kind of born with that right implicit. But when you say now, I want the right to be able to to be able to earn as much as a man, well, then now there's way more complicated. Men earn a wide variety of wages. Which men are you talking about? Oh, those ones at the top. I'm not talking about the guys who do all the dirty and dangerous jobs. I'm talking about the ones in the boardroom. I want their. Okay, cool. What are the responsibilities come with that? Because those guys have the right to make that money, but they also have responsibilities. Which one of those are you willing to take on? Which responsibilities? I don't want the responsibilities. In fact, I not only want those guys jobs, I want them as well so that they will use the money that they make to pay for my lifestyle and pay for our children. And then I get free reign and choice over what I do with all the money that I just made. And I think we all need to take on this ideology or this understanding of the world as rights and responsibilities so that we can fully align ourselves with our missions properly. I think one good test to understand whether you've got a good balance of your rights and your responsibilities. Somebody who takes on all the rights without the responsibilities is immature. And someone who takes on all the responsibilities with none of the rights is a slave. Right? None of us wants to be a slave. No one wants to be enslaved to somebody, to be responsible for somebody and have no rights over them, to be responsible for a project and have no rights in the project, to be responsible for a task and have no rights to say how that task should go. That's to be enslaved. You've become the whipping body, right? So no one wants either extreme. And the immaturity of saying I want all the rights, that's clearly way more accepted in today's society from adults, but it really shouldn't be. I think it was JFK that gave the speech that said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. This is why a lot of us are going to have struggling sex lives, because we're going into sex and saying, what are you going to do for me? How are you going to please me in bed? Whereas if two people go in and say, well, do you know what? I have the right to be pleased, yes, but I also have the responsibility of pleasing somebody else. Let me focus on my responsibilities. So my good test to find out if you got a good balance of this is ask yourself how you respond to the word duty. If the word duty to you is synonymous with begrudging, being forced, an unpleasant experience, then I would hazard a guess that you believe more in your rights than in your responsibilities. If you take the word duty to be a negative thing, it shows me that you're not ready to take on responsibility, and therefore you don't deserve some of these things that you refer to as your rights. You see, duty is an opportunity for us to serve. It's an opportunity for us to serve and make a commitment. Committing to serve is to say, this is my duty. I'm not only going to serve, but I'm committed to it such that I am going to do it even when it's not convenient for me. That's what we're asking of each other when we get married. We're asking you to take on the duty of working with me, of being with me. And whenever we talk about like get out if it's no longer serving you, then what I'm hearing is if you're no longer getting your rights or the responsibility becomes too much, then back out of the entire deal. Which means the word duty is constantly being neglected here. It is a man's duty to protect and provide for his family. It is a woman's duty to support and to be a helpmeet to her husband. But if the word duty gets you your backup, if you hear duty, if let's say, for example, you say to a woman, it's your duty to attend to your husband's sexual needs, and she gets her back up like, I don't want to have duty sex, duty this and duty that, it says to me probably that she has a very bad attitude with what her responsibilities are. She wants the idea of a man being monogamous to her, but she doesn't want the responsibility of actually making him happy, of actually meeting his needs. In fact, she's more interested in making sure that he's not too happy elsewhere than she is in actually making sure he's happy. She'd prefer he be miserable and with her than to be happy and elsewhere. And that's not to say that he should be doing that. That's not to say that this is a viable way to address things, to go out and cheat and so on. But what I am saying is that purely looking at it from her perspective, I can see if somebody speaks about the word duty with a negativity, that they've already showed me that they basically don't want responsibility in life. They're here for the rights. And so when you ask yourself, how do I feel about duty? Ask yourself also, if I want to get more in balance, maybe I am too much over on the right side as opposed to responsibility side. If I want to get more in the middle, what could I do? Well, I could get a much more positive attitude about duty. Maybe I could commit to serving people and choose to do it with a cheerful heart. How about that? How about learning to serve people from a good place, from a place of actual enjoyment? Like I want to do this. How about reformatting your mind to get to derive satisfaction from being good to other people? Not purely from the stance of receiving, but I'm saying get into the habit of volunteering at a soup kitchen, or helping a kid with their homework, mentoring a child, or going and calling your grandma and just sitting with her and keeping her company for some time. These are some of the things that I think will get the idea of a positive response to duty in your mind. Because the truth is, every time you took on a duty, you are getting rights with it. And every time you took on rights, you took on a duty. Duty, in my definition, is just responsibility plus commitment. But what I'm saying is, because you are committed, you expect certain rights. But because you're committed, you should also take on those responsibilities. So you should have the joy that if it's about your husband's sexual needs, yes, there's a responsibility for you to meet his sexual needs, but there's also the rights that you have exclusive access to his sexual desire. That's something you should be happy about. If your wife is saying it's your duty to provide, yes, it's gonna sting at first, because you're like, oh my goodness, like I don't want the duty, blah blah blah. But that's because you only love the rights of having somebody to love you, having your kids around, having the emotional prop up and support, maybe the societal the societal prestige of having a family. But there's a responsibility that comes with that. And if you were to take a positive response, you say, oh, yeah, I know I enjoy having a family, so therefore, and I know I enjoyed the sex that it took to make those children. I know I enjoy living in the home, and I know I enjoy having this wife here to support me by, domestically, for example, or by providing inspiration, or by being pretty and walking around the house and just making you feel good. Maybe I should take the same positive approach to looking after her, looking after the children, looking after this home. I hope you enjoy some of those thoughts, man, and I hope you appreciate the time taken out to try and put some more of this content together. I hope it blesses you in some way. I hope that you're somewhat entertained and also elevated at the same time. And like I said, if you're a regular here, please hit the like button, and if you're new, please hit the subscribe button. And let's keep doing this, man. And also drop a comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. And tell me what you're enjoying, and maybe something you'd like me to delve a bit more deeper into. If not, I'll catch you in the next video.